It will be launched from Kenyan soil by Kenyan satellite engineers. Okay, you know this was launched by Japanese satellite engineers in Japan. So we are looking forward to that. Lastly, this is already on the market. There is a product. There's the first smartphone, Kenyan design. An engineer will tell you the engineering is not in the manufacture or assembly. The engineering is in the design. There's a product called a smartphone called Silk. It's already being sold in the market. I think 4,000 units already sold, which was designed by Kenyans, ex-USA, currently being assembled in China. But I think land has been acquired somewhere here on Thika Road. So in the next 2 or 3 years, there will be an assembly here. So it's fully Kenyan owned. I'm just saying this, it's not theory. I'm telling you about things that already exist. Silk is a product of the Kenyan smartphone. So my encouragement to you guys here, particularly the younger people, it's doable, let's get it done. We can totally transform this country. Thank you very much for your words.
Thank you so much, Dr. I would just like to bring to your attention that we are live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And our media team says there's a lot of response, and we are grateful for that. So right now, we would like to welcome Dr. Catherine Kadhure Kaimei. Not ahead of our time? Sorry. We began from below and forgot one very important professor. We have not asked questions in regard to what Professor Olubai taught. I am sorry, sir. Any responses? It could be comment, question on what Professor Olubai told us this morning. Education for innovation, not exams. Any question? Any comment? Yes.
Pass this to him. Pass this to him.
Good afternoon. My name is Yusuf. In Professor Lubai's speech, he says something about people not really schools giving exams when in the real essence they should be teaching people the practical approach towards things. Like in the employment industries, we have companies that are hiring people with degrees that they're not giving that value of a degree. So what are the steps that our university, in particular, I speak as a student from Zetech University, is willing to take from his speech to make us better students? Thank you.
Let's appreciate him. Any other? Dr. is noting down. Any other? If we do not have any other, then we can allow Dr. Olubai to respond to that given one. Let's appreciate him as he takes over the microphone.
Thank you very much. I'll begin by saying big congratulations for MC Emma Murunga, right? For having been everything, including Mama Uji. That's real entrepreneurship and a very open-minded approach, and all the way to teacher. So congratulations, madam. The question I've just been asked, I can only answer one half. Then obviously the DVC for academics would answer the other half. What would Zetech do? I'll just spend a minute or so clarifying what I would advise the university to do. My full-time job is actually to advise the private universities that my company owns, the company I work for owns, on how to improve teaching and learning. And what we've basically done in the universities that our company owns is we've told people you can't be writing notes because it doesn't make any sense. You see, let's say suppose you're walking into a class to study economics and the topic is money. Can you imagine actually sitting in class and now watching the teacher writing, money is a store of value, money is a means of exchange, and all of that is on your phone. If you just click it on your phone, money is defined, complete with all of its applications and everything. So that really, say 25, 30 years ago, when there was no internet and when students did not have smartphones, it made sense to write these things for them. it doesn't make any sense anymore. What we must do going forward is to make a classroom into a very interesting place that people truly want to go to. I taught microbiology for 16 years in New Jersey at Acies University. And one of my challenges to my students was I would give you extra credit, more marks if you did not come to class, not if you came to class. In 16 years, only 3 students took the challenge, and they actually got the extra credit. Because if the classroom is a dramatically interesting place in which the student truly feels that at the end of 1.5 hours, our lectures were 1.5 hours, the labs were 3 hours, that at the end of the 1.5 hours or 3 hours in your microbiology or biotechnology lab, that you have learned something, then students will actually want to come to class. And then something else that structurally we would have to do, it turns out that there's actually no law in Kenya that says that the final exam should be 70%. It's just an old dead practice from the University of Nairobi, okay, when there was only one university in the country. And so everybody's replicating this, forgetting that when the University of Nairobi was doing 70%, there was no internet. So part of what we must do is to make every time a student is in class an opportunity for learning. And we have to know our audience. Since the audience comes already damaged, okay, the audience comes with a mindset that says, I am here to pass an exam. So what we would have to do is basically revise our curriculum in such a way that the final exam is not 70%. Each time you are in class, your presence and contributions and the work in class counts towards your final grade. If a student knows that if I miss class this week, which is in a trimester system, you're basically missing 1/10 of your work, approximately 1/10. This student actually knows that if I miss this week, I've already missed 5% of my grade. Guess what? They'll be in class. And when they come to that class, if the class is not useful because the teacher doesn't read, the teacher hasn't planned, there is no real discussion around application of concepts, then the students will vote. But nevertheless, because the students arrive expecting grades, you simply make sure that every class presence leads to a grade and that there is actual work. Let's say, for example, the students who are an audience here today. In other systems where I have worked, not only would students be invited to an academic conference like this, but they would be required to actually conduct a discussion after the conference and write papers after the conference, and those papers are part of their grade. So you wouldn't see what has just happened, they wouldn't disappear, okay? Because it's linked back to their work and it has to continue. So you are actually engaging in intellectual development. You're not just ticking a box, I was present. But you are going to discuss these ideas, you're going to imagine application, you're going to write papers. So this is part of what has to happen if we're to move towards learning. What we're currently doing nationwide is called teaching. And that's why you saw when Matiang'i tried to remove corruption 2 years ago. For KCSE, say if you take last year, only 1 child out of 10 passed last year. Because once you remove cheating, which is all memorization, you buy the papers in advance, you memorize how to do the exam, then you get an A. But once you remove cheating, it's 1 out of 10 passing. Because the students have not been encouraged to become readers and thinkers. This thing that God gave us is really good if you use it correctly. If you actually orient yourself towards learning, engage in continuous reading and discussion, use technology, then you'll just be amazed at how bright you are. And it turns out that intelligence is not what we thought 30 years ago. It's not fixed. And the authority on this is Richard Nisbet. You can Google Nisbet's work in intelligence and how to get it. And you'll actually begin to amaze yourself by realizing you could double your intelligence if you so choose. It's not fixed. It's a bit like taking somebody in this room who cannot run more than 10 kilometers. How many of you cannot run more than 10 kilometers? Okay, it's very many people. Or maybe we reverse the question. How many of you can run 10 kilometers without trouble? Okay, less than half. If you take someone who can't run 10 kilometers, you have them run 1 kilometer this week, for the whole week, every day, 1, 1, 1. Next week, you make it 2, 2, 2. Next month, you make it 3, 3, 3. By the end of the year, that person can run 20 kilometers. Your intelligence is like that. It can be improved, it can be upped. So that's really something that I think is extremely important for us gathering together to think about education. that it has to be very active and it must be linked to thinking and to discussion. The question that I gave the audience before, chuchu kakame, notice, okay, let's say if I ask you right now, dash dash kakame, the answer would be chuchu. But then you must immediately follow this with, but excuse me, what does chuchu mean? Where are chuchus found? What are the implications of chuchus? What else is the chuchu related to? Why should we be thinking about chuchus? How do chuchus relate to human beings? You have to ask the questions. Now, most of our classrooms are really strange places where people copy notes and then walk out. Okay, so that we don't actually engage in any real discussion in asking questions and imagining solutions. And you find someone with a degree in ICT who can't use a keyboard. They are doing like one of the speakers said, going like this. And they actually tell you they have a degree in ICT. You see how many problems we have, but all of these are fixable. We have good brains, and we really have the miracle of this technology now where your phone literally becomes your second brain. Your phone is your second brain. Okay, almost anything you want to know is quickly available to you on your phone. Now, if you want to surprise yourself, for those of you who don't spend the bulk of your time Googling, literally type on your phone how to cook ugali, and it will take you step by step. Just as if you typed on your phone how to change oil in my car, step by step. If you went on